Hi, I'm Paul Camillos from Shooting the Breeze podcast. Join the STB crew for conversations and stories around women's hoops and women in hoops, inspiring players, amazing coaches, and the legends behind the scenes. It's our 7th season. Drop us a like and review, and make sure to subscribe for early access and other bonus content.
I'm enjoying the challenge of learning from someone like him who has been on the journey with this women's program for a really long time, and when it was an awful lot harder, so qualifying for things, you'd be lucky to get your one shot.
Yep.
And then if you didn't win, then that was it. Whereas now thanks to that group of 4 and Damon and their success, we are in a position where we have far more opportunity.
Welcome to Shooting the Breeze. And today I'm being joined by assistant coach for the Gangurrus, Hannah Lowe. Hannah, welcome to the show. And I got to say, I was looking through your bio, and I know you've been coaching for a long time,
yeah,
but it really kind of hammered home the experience that you've got. It's, apart from, assistant coach with the Gangurrus, there's also been NBL 1 head coach, under-20s Women Victoria head coach, under-18s Australians, 3x3 Asia Cup, WNBL assistant coach at Rangers, Flames, Flyers, and now Geelong. NCAA Div 1 graduate assistant. Wow.
Yeah, when you stack them up, it's a few. I've done a few, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and I suppose that one of the things with that is there are people who will know that whole history, but there's probably other people who really don't know about your coaching history until recently with the 3x3.
Probably. Yeah. I've been doing it a long time, from grassroots all the way up. Yeah. As you say, it's diverse, isn't it?
It is.
I've been to a few different places now and enjoyed all of it. And I think each opportunity probably wouldn't come up had I not jumped at the one prior, if that makes sense. Yeah. Grateful.
Look, it has been fantastic. Just and even at the time at the Flames, which we were quite close to.
Oh yes.
And it was let's be honest, it was a tough season that season
as
well.
It was. Yes. It was.
There was injuries. It's just one of those seasons where things just didn't fall the way they should have.
Correct. Yes. But a great experience. I thoroughly enjoyed, all of that, and would have been there again the following season if not for the COVID year. So
yeah, COVID kind of messed up a lot of stuff, really.
Yeah, indeed. Yes.
Obviously, we want to talk about 3x3. I want to start off by saying there's been a real explosion in the growth of 3x3 over the last few years. For people who are sort of not really into the basketball community, it would seem like it's just shown up out of nowhere. There's like the women's series, there's these games going on all over the world, and I think a lot of people would be looking at it going, wow, where's this all come from? So I'm curious to get your take on the growth of 3x3.
From a grassroots level, it's everywhere. I feel like every association is running a entry-level 3x3, whether they're running it under their own branding or relying on their Basketball Victoria or wherever they're situated. It's absolutely massive at that level. And the women's series or the international competition has been there for a really long time. Australia just, a little bit slower into all of that through funding, exposure, opportunity. But right now, working even in the grassroots, still in my other job, I'm finding myself explaining the 3-on-3 format to people far more regularly because of the role I've taken with the Gangurrus. But there's a real interest in it, and it's kind of, I liken it to beach volleyball appearing in the Olympics. Fun, it's upbeat, it's fast. You don't have to know much about it to enjoy the show and admire the skill and the physicality of it all. And then as a basketball tragic, there's an awful lot more to life to it. So, explaining it to people on the regular is what I'm finding at the moment. Like, there's a vague understanding, they're familiar with the options at the grassroots level, but as basketball in Australia is starting to get more invested in pathway, we're starting to see the Gangurrus on, KO recently, or on YouTube a lot more frequently, and the profile of the athletes is, doing this.
Yeah, look, it was interesting you mentioned beach volleyball. To me, one of the things 3x3 reminds me of cricket back in the days when originally it was all Test cricket, and then this one-day game showed up out of nowhere.
Yep.
And there was just this explosion of interest in the game that grew, because it was like, you get in, you can get a result for cricket in one day, whereas with 3x3, you can get multiple games in one day. There's enough breaks that people, towards the back end of the day, people are going to start getting tired, but you're getting multiple games in, you're keeping people engaged, and particularly with international-based competitions, you're getting to see multiple countries playing, in a real short space of time. So it's a way of really pulling people in who want to see something fast and entertaining.
I guess, aside from the dunks and all of the, the highlight-based play, for me, the last bit of the game's the best bit. There's X amount of time on the clock, and how many possessions, and who's their best shooter, what are we going to run here? So you get to see that as a fan every 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Incredible. And 3x3, if you watch the World Cup just recently, either the men or the women, or even in the women's series, anything can happen. It can turn on a dime for teams, and I think that makes it exciting, regardless of the scoreline in any given contest, to be honest. It's been fun to be part of.
Yeah, you get to see some teams will claw back from, you look at it and you go, yeah, okay, this one's done. And then 3 minutes later, it's like, well, yeah, okay, I was totally wrong on that one.
Absolutely. Even on paper, any given matchup, you think, well, obviously, the skill or talent in this hand and compared to the whatever in the other, and anything can happen. It's a game. Skill is obviously a factor, and athleticism, but the grit component is undeniable.
And going back to that unexpected thing, and you mentioned Mongolia, there was that total, even FIBA's got it on the YouTube channel as the major upset, Mongolia beating the US.
Being in Mongolia, while Mongolia's women's team were doing what those girls were doing, including that game, was crazy. The locals got around those girls in a way that, I'm sure that locals were hoping that we'd get that, you'd see that community get behind their teams, but it has to have been unprecedented and unexpected. The level, the lines out the door to get in, obviously organisers crying on the sideline. Just it was so busy. We actually struggled to get in for the last day, as if you weren't in a team that was competing. Like, they were basically, there's no seats for you. So we sat over in a food market across the road, and it was packed. And the final didn't go Mongolia's way.
Yeah.
Every time anything happened that was positive for Mongolia, the whole place lost its mind, just completely. It was really exciting to be part of and witness. Obviously disappointing we weren't playing in that game ourselves. But if it were to go any way, you were hoping to see Mongolia, complete the Cinderella. But even being there, I think those girls it was incredible. It was so good to watch. It's great to see Mongolia get around it, and just, witnessing things like that, And
I'm sure that's going to help boost the profile and the take-up of the game in Mongolia, because it's like, they beat the US. They beat the USA. It's, for a country like that, they'll all be standing 20 feet tall.
Absolutely. And I think, those girls, like, they're playing with their heart on their sleeve. Like, it was really great to watch. And, the USA certainly didn't bring a B grade team. There's some big names from the college circuit in that group. They were certainly turning up and expecting to probably sweep all of it, I would have thought.
Oh, sure. It's kind of, they walk into competitions as a nation, particularly in basketball, and they're thinking, okay, they actually don't entertain the concept that they're going to be challenged. Oh. And it's not because of arrogance. It's just purely for the sheer depth of talent that they've got available.
that team, those girls are incredible. We will see them, obviously, they are on the NCAA stage and now they're doing the 3x3, but we'll see all 4 of those girls many times in many platforms in their future, guaranteed.
Absolutely. Now, I got to also ask, and this is totally, let's just put basketball aside for a second. What was Mongolia like? It's kind of like, it's one of those places where, you think, oh, let's go somewhere exotic. Mongolia never comes up, right? It's just one of those countries that people don't really think about.
Maybe not. And it wasn't on my list of places to go, but surprising for me, I seem to be in the minority. So plenty of people in my space were like, oh, Mongolia, how cool. I'd really like to go there. And so it forced a bit of research into, well, what does Mongolia have to offer? And plenty is the answer.
Wow.
Culturally, yeah, it was great. We went and saw the Genghis Khan monument, the biggest equestrian statue in the world. We rode camels. We did all sorts of stuff. But we'd come to dinner each day, and Mila Sowa, she was reading a documentary on Mongolia. So we'd all get to dinner, and everyone's got their whatever we're eating. And she would give us a quick history lesson on what she'd learned in the documentary that day. And it would prompt questions about, well, how does one conquer, and as Genghis Khan did, and come back with some answers about, what he conquered, how, when, and then what happened. And so we all became quite educated on the history of Mongolia. But yeah, it's great. Yeah, it wasn't somewhere I thought I'd ever end up, but I'm glad I went. And, would I go again? Sure, absolutely.
One of the things that's interesting about the women's series is you literally travel the world. There's competitions, there's tournaments everywhere.
There are.
I'm kind of curious, how challenging is that as a coach, and how challenging is it for the team to sort of be, because it's a pretty dense schedule.
I mean, not every team goes to every stop.
Sure.
I guess. The stops, though, for us, I mean, Australia's far away.
Yeah. So
we roll in, we've got limited preparation, like on the ground. So we do what we can. And then, it's you're in battle. 2 games on the first day. If you don't win, you're probably not playing on the second day. And the second day will be 3 games, and the turnaround time might be so short. Like, you really do need to put some time into the prep as best you can. But sometimes these rosters, you might not have seen one of the girls all that frequently before, or maybe it's the first time those 4 girls have played together. So it comes with all sorts of adversities on that front.
Yeah.
Players need to be willing to be dynamic. They need to be willing to troubleshoot on the fly. So as a coach, you present them with some tools, but when they're out there, resilience is on display. Their ability to work.
Look, that's really true. I mean, there's been games that we've watched over the last couple of years where the Gangurrus have been down, and you look at the scoreline, you look at the intensity of the way the game's been playing, it's like, how are they going to challenge that gap? And they do. And it's like, it's great to watch, because you're seeing the skills, you're seeing the resilience, as you've mentioned, and you're seeing really that teamwork, because you only got 4 people. So you really get to see how they work together to be able to achieve those results.
For sure. So the chemistry of the group, the character of the individuals in that group is going to be critical to its success. No one's getting buried on a bench. All 4 players have a pivotal role to play. They've all got to be on the same page. You might have a game plan. It's not working. And you don't have, as the coach, the luxury of a quick timeout. Hey, we'll reassess that. Now let's do it this way. The players need to solve that problem themselves. So that's about their basketball IQ, but their willingness, I think, to work together as a group. And to your point, you're down 7 with however long to go. Like, teams don't quit. But I could probably say that about all teams. But the Gangurrus as a group have proven a level of resilience over the years, even with different generations of the group. But that resilience and grit and fight are guaranteed out of the Gangurrus, I think.
I think that's probably one of the key takeaways. In fact, I was watching, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in a second, but I was watching one of the games, and the commentators, one of the things that well, actually, I watched a few of the games again, and they kept talking about the resilience of the team and the grit and the fight that the Gangurrus always bring to a game.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, it's become such a key thing for the team, and it's now being recognised by the people that are calling the games as well, that it's almost become the calling card for the team.
Oh, absolutely. They will fight it out. There's never a question of that when we're talking about, did they try hard enough? Are we ready to go? They're ready to go.
Yeah.
They will be ready to go. And I think, when you're trying to put together teams for this kind of sport, that is a key element of character of people that would form any said group.
And to that point, that must make it really tough to select a team, particularly if you're in a position where, you've had, say, 4 players who are regularly playing together.
Yep.
And then for whatever reason, one of them is unavailable for a series or for whatever reason.
Yep.
Being able to find somebody who's not only just looking for the skills, but you're also looking for someone who can integrate in with the team and fit in, which must make it, from the point of view of selection, a real challenge.
Yes, is the short answer. Like fitting into that group, and the Olympic 4 have done a lot together.
Yeah,
and so building the depth of the group is important for Basketball Australia's success. And so it's identifying personalities, athletes, attributes. They're going to complement that group, and eventually over time it will evolve, but you want to initially complement, and I guess getting the right formula is critical, because adding a component that isn't going to fit well, even socially, it can really upset the balance of the performance. So, so far we've got a great squad of about 10, 12 at the moment. I think diversity in that space is inevitable, but it's about identifying those right people. It's not necessarily, people talked about America. Was it Cameron Brink does her knee, and so she doesn't go away with that team? Like, oh, well, we'll just get Caitlin Clark in.
Yeah, no.
She hasn't played any 3x3. She's not part of that group. And so it's not as simple as just plucking out whoever you think the next best WNBL player is. They need to have some attributes that are going to complement the team.
Yeah, and again, going back to, I was looking at the upcoming schedule. It's in 2 weeks, it's Hong Kong, and then a couple of weeks after that, it's Canada. It's it's this constant cycle.
Yeah.
So, having a team that's traveling on that sort of a schedule, spending obviously a lot of time together,
yes,
got to make sure that the personalities really, really click and really fit together. Otherwise, just that time together could end up actually having a negative effect.
Yes, and you're going to be in the trenches. Something will go wrong, and maybe you lose a game, and you're going to have to play again against a better opposition in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's not enough time to go back and watch the whole game, and maybe you've got to be able to regroup. What went wrong? How are we going to fix it? Right, we're straight in and work together to solve that problem now.
Yeah.
There's no, next weekend, or we'll have film on Monday, we'll do a shoot around on Tuesday. We're back at it in less than an hour.
I suppose the other part to this is, you just mentioned, things go wrong, and they always they do. And I think probably one of the ones that surprised a lot of people watching would have been the game against the Netherlands, because the team had gone unbeaten in that first round, came up against the Netherlands, and I don't think anybody was really expecting the game to go the way it did. Certainly not, as a viewer watching the game. But I don't want to take away anything from the Netherlands. They were a tough team, and
they won it.
They won it. But watching the Gangurrus play against them, despite the gap, nobody gave up right down to the last dying seconds. It was go, go, go. And I think in a lot of cases, the Dutch defense actually was forcing us to kind of hurry some shots, because there were stretches there where the honest truth was we couldn't buy a bucket.
Look, I guess those days come up, right? And
Sure.
think about, we've spent 2 weeks away.
Yep.
No excuses. The girls,
No.
and as you pointed out, there's no quitting in the Gangurrus. Like, it's just no quitting. But we win the women's series, right? So we lost the USA, and then we find ourselves playing against them again in the final, and we beat them, and we win. Awesome. Then there's a couple of days off, and then we're straight into the World Cup. And depends how you want to frame it, but we're undefeated except for 1-L against the team that won the whole thing. But performance that day, when you watch that game back, and I might have watched it at least a few times, we'll call it, we can play better than that. I think we, probably not our best. They played well. So they played, I think, when you watched the Netherlands games, that was, one of their better games probably for the series. And of late, I've been watching them a bit with the women's series games as well. I think we just didn't have a good day. They played some excellent defense.
Yeah.
And it was smothering. And so despite our endeavors, we'll go back to the drawing board, find ways to conquer and combat the way they were managing our pick and roll, how they were getting available on the pick and roll themselves, and we'll be better. If we play them again the next day, would the outcome be the same? I don't think so.
No, it's...
Right. Will we win? Maybe not. That's the best team in the world. So, they are the World Cup champions.
Yep.
So I don't want to be perceived as taking away from that. But, yeah, I think we would walk away from that being a little disappointed with...
Oh, sure. And again, I've watched it a few times. And one of the things that I noticed, because I was one of the games, I just listened to the commentary through it, and they picked up an interesting point, which, to be honest, I suppose I kind of noticed it in the back of my head, but really didn't get it brought forward until I heard them say it by listening, was that the Dutch, on a number of occasions, rather than going for the rebound, would kick it out, which gave them an opportunity. Even though we got the ball back, it gave them an opportunity to reset their defense. And the commentary team actually said they've done that quite a few times early up in the game. So obviously I stopped and rounded back and had a look. It's like, yeah, they did. So, it's almost like there's a whole bunch of new strategies that are being built around 3x3, and it's still evolving in terms of how people play the game.
For sure. And Australia, we're still young, like in our experience with 3x3 and Basketball Australia. There's been a lot of planning meetings, a lot of, what will next year look like? What is the road to the Olympics? So there's a lot of growth in that space and genuine investment from key players at Basketball Australia to help make that better. When you look at the experience, even of our Olympic 4 and Damon, that group, because there was no funding, that group's progress to the Olympics is incredible. And now we've got this extra depth of resource, and we've got these 4 girls that have Olympic experience. So they've done it the hard way. So the evolution of the way the Gangurrus are going to play on the back of the success of those 4 and then the groups before them I think will be exponential. But the game itself, as you say, is evolving, and we've just got to get our experience levels up, get the diversity of player up, and we'll be right there.
Well, yeah,
we are there.
We are right there. There's no question about that. I get the feeling, and like, we haven't been to any of these international competitions, but I get the feeling that there's a real buzz around the Gangurrus whenever they take the court, because they play such an entertaining form of 3x3. And that makes people really engage with the team.
Oh, I'm probably biased. I think that they're exciting to watch. I think they play a great brand of basketball. But the broader Australian basketball community, I think it feels like there's a genuine interest in what they're doing. And then the boys too, like the Gangurru men are also, like, they're growing in their brand. They beat Serbia, one of the best teams in the world and long-standing. So they're not far off the mark. And I think that genuine increased investment, more resource, we're going to see that catch up. But the commentary point you make is interesting. Listening to Kyle, listening to these guys break the game down, because they literally do it all, I'm going to say summer, I guess, but all winter. You can learn a lot about the strategic side of things. And there are nuances about the way the gang plays versus the way the Netherlands play, way Canada plays. And nobody's wrong. They're just different,
Sure.
method of getting it done. The Netherlands, they've found a formula that definitely works for their group at the moment. And we will watch the tape, review it, and come back. We've got so much talent, Paul.
Yeah, oh yeah. Look, the one thing that I don't think anybody questions is the amount of talent playing basketball in this country. Skill-wise, we're there, and I think, like we were talking about before, it's not so much about the skill level anymore. It's about getting the personality mix that works.
Correct.
To be able to, like you said, you've been beaten, go into the dressing room. How do we adjust? Don't get down. Let's keep pushing each other forward to be able to get back out there and just come back and ignore what's happened before. And getting a mix like that is really, it's actually a really hard thing to do and keep it stable for a period of time. Because as you said, this team's been together for a while.
That's right.
And so therefore, you've got a really good mix going there.
For sure. And I think the women's series been great for the women in that we've been able to get little bits of extra exposure for a broader group of girls. And I think, while you're trying to build a depth chart, if you like, or the next generation, or, maybe you are looking at different personnel, be that smaller lineups, bigger lineups, more teams in the women's series next year. Like, I'm not sure, but I think being able to even have those conversations is new.
Yeah, I think, overall, looking at it from the point of view of a fan, I see the game and I see the players, and it's like, it's kind of like you're seeing a really big burst. It's like fireworks going off. It gets everyone's attention. It's short. It's for a short period of time. Everybody's got their attention on it. They're really paying attention to the players.
Yep.
Because there's four. That's it. It's not like you got a bench sitting there where, some of the bench never even sees the court because there's too much depth.
Correct.
Whereas all the players, you kind of look at it, and people also look at it and think, well, you've got someone like Milisoa, who's really great at trying to drop the threes from outside. Drop the twos. Then you've also got someone like Marina Whittle, who's there, and she's tough. She really gives 110%. And look, because of her style of play, she probably gets a little bit of more attention from the refs. Like in that Dutch game, there was a lot of attention on her, but she was playing her game. It was just the way it went. So I think it's a great way for kids who are watching as well to be able to engage more with the players, but also engage with them as a team because there's only four and they're also recognisable.
Absolutely. And, they're all unique, but if you watch like their 5-on-5 space, all these girls are getting NBA 2K style stat lines in the NBL 1. They're more than able in that 5-on-5 space, and then they're able to flip that skill set and apply it to this fast-paced, physical brand of basketball as well. And the identifiable piece, I mean, the personalities amongst the four of them, they've all got their own, bits and pieces to them, but they're out there and about, and I think it almost adds to it, doesn't it? They play hard, they play with passion. It's written all over their face.
Oh yeah.
And there's plenty to love about that, I think.
No question. And like you said, it's so obvious. And also, I think that's one of the other things that's really entertaining about the 3x3 is the way they do the coverage. Because you're talking about a half court and you've got quite a bit of camera coverage.
Nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide, but, you get to see that raw emotion on their face during the game.
What's cool about, people complain about the refereeing this and, the ref. There's no room for that in 3x3. The ref won't have it. There's no answering back. It just is. And they just tee you up.
Yep.
So the players, another resilience point. There's no point complaining. Just move on to the next play.
Yeah, I
like it. Even as the coach, like, what am I going to say? I can't.
No,
can't.
you can't. And it's interesting you mention that because like I think on one of the late fouls on Marino Ittel during that Dutch game,
Yep.
you could see her sort of going, "What? Why am I?" And then she just dropped it and then got back into the game. Whereas you know that if that was a WNBL game or an NBL1 game, there'd be a conversation going on.
More questions asked, maybe. Yeah, I think, there's something to be said for just letting the refs ref, right?
Yeah.
But I think 3x3 does a good job of I think you used to get a warning that looked like this.
Yeah.
And then they just tech you. I think they're a bit quicker to tech you now. But the players are pretty good. I think the Gangurrus, Damon's put a lot of work into the culture piece, the Gangurrus, obviously being a group of 4 for the last extended period of time, I guess, in their lead up to the Olympics. That culture piece and being unified and looking in for support instead of looking outside for excuses has been really important. And I think it transfers to the way the girls play. And sure, there's frustration pieces with, was it a foul, wasn't it a foul, did I travel? But the girls do a great job, I think, of just moving on to the next thing. And that's a credit to the way that program has been built culturally, I think.
And I'm also curious to understand from your perspective, what's the interest level from players to be part of the Gangurrus, that wider player community?
I think that there's genuine interest. We had a camp just before we went away to Mongolia, and that was probably the biggest camp that I'm aware of that 3x3 has had, with a genuine squad. I think we had, maybe it was meant to be 14, ended up being 12 with injury and anomaly stuff. And we had 2 full days. They scrimmaged, shot. We, worked on strategic stuff while we were there. That's probably the most in-depth camp we've been able to have. Whether that's about resources or not, I think it's been about personnel depth too. And we're in a really good spot with that. I think we'll see more and more interest as time goes by. Like, you can't go to the Com Games as a 5-on-5 player at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to go, 3x3 is part of your pathway. I think 3x3 is proven for someone like Ali Wilson. It can be a really significant part of your pathway in 5-on-5 if that's what you want. That's for her to decide, I guess. But
sure.
It's definitely opened some doors for her. It's legitimate. It's here. It's an Olympic legitimate sport now. Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
No.
And the pathway will get bigger in the grassroots space and in those junior spaces. But I think we'll see more and more of the WNBL putting their hand up. Sure.
Okay. So given the level of interest, and, again, I'm looking at this schedule which goes all over the place, Asia to Europe to the North American continent, back to Europe and Asia again and Middle East.
Yes.
How do we get a stop in Australia?
I'm sure that that's on the cards from a planning point of view for Basketball Australia.
Right.
It's probably a conversation that's just a tiny little bit above my head.
Oh, sure. But
but I imagine it costs a bit of money.
Yeah.
So, financial backing would be a factor. We travel. So I've been on a 2-day trip to France, been on a 3-day trip to China. So that obviously comes with quite a bit of expense.
Yep.
Those trips come with obviously mostly basketball, but we would need to get all of those countries to take a 2-day trip to Australia.
Sure.
So although, it's expensive for us to go, I wonder about the expense for them all to come here. I think it would be great. And I'm very confident that it's something that would be being looked into by those that make the decisions. I think it would just be the coolest thing ever, to be honest. I think the Australian basketball public would love it.
Look, to be really honest,
yes.
I think the biggest problem would be finding a venue that would accommodate everyone.
Sydney Opera House. In the background, we'll have the bridge. I think it would be perfect. Just on that flat bit out the front there. Be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be there. Absolutely.
Hopefully, me too.
And you could also have, because, you got the Botanic Gardens is sort of raised like 30 or 40 feet up. You could sell seats there as well.
Exactly. I think we would, the basketball community, especially with how popular basketball is and how successful 3x3 has been in the grassroots space, I think it would be incredible. And I'm sure it's coming, but will it be at the Sydney Opera House? I don't know, but that's my vote.
I'm there, 100%. You got our support for that one.
Great, good.
Now, I actually want to play a little clip when we had Marina Whittle on the show, and it's to do with the sport itself and visibility and how the sport has increased. And I'd like to get your take on it, because this was done a little while ago, so to get a bit of feedback on how things have changed and how you see this applies.
Okay.
Definite strides have been taken in that relationship between the two sports, and it was so awesome to have the Opals send us the messages when we were going into that game against England. And I think even to start the tournament at Com Games, the girls sent us all messages and just wishing us best of luck, and that was just so cool, because for quite some time like 3x3s felt like a completely separate sport and a separate part of Australian basketball. So this year's just been awesome, and we felt very I guess bonded with the girls, which is really cool. I think there is still a lot of space that we can go with that. And, you know, before COVID, we had like consistent national camps and stuff. And obviously it was hard this last few years. But I think that relationship is getting bigger and better. And just the more that the sport grows as well with 3x3, I think that will start to happen. But even just like the visibility of, you know, the Opals and 3x3 happening at the same time, I think that's something that we can grow. But again, it comes back to how much the players are prepared to talk about it, how much the players are prepared to share about it, like all of that good stuff. So credit to everyone, all of the girls that were involved in that.
Okay, now there's a couple of points in there. There's talk about more tours, there's talk about visibility, and there's also talk about how the Opals have been supporting the Gangurrus through their camp and through the growth of the team. So I think, you know, a lot of people would love to hear from your perspective how you see all of that has evolved over the last period of time.
I loved hearing that, can I just say. I haven't heard that soundbite before, and I guess it was before the Com Games. A lot's happened since then, right? For the Opals, for 3x3 overall, the Gangurrus, you know, so much has happened. And the positivity there, I feel like that connection between the two programs has only grown. The relationship between the coaching staff, like since I've been involved, we've had meetings with the Opal staff about pathway, about collaboration, and there's a definite strong desire in both camps is the wrong word. We're all in the same camp, but in both programs to work together. And it's exciting to be part of, being involved in conversations with such an incredible coaching staff like the Opals. And, you know, we're working with the same athletes. There are girls that are doing both at the moment, and making sure that we're creating a space where everyone's pathway is being progressed in the right direction. We're all trying to win and make sure Australia is represented well. And the fact that a player like Marina feels that way quite a while ago, I see that as really positive, because I feel like those relationships and those connections are getting stronger. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, to me, it's talking about how both programs are working together and they're supporting one another. And there is players who are in both programs, but also, in effect, both programs help to raise the profile of basketball across the board, but also, you know, every time the Opals talk about the Gangurrus and 3x3 and vice versa, you've got the fans who sort of focus on each program, because there are people who prefer the 3x3 game. They get to cross-pollinate and raise the visibility of each program, which shows that kind of solidarity that sometimes you don't always see in sports.
Oh, for sure. It's and they should be working side by side and together. We should be collaborating. We should be doing all those things. And I mean, I can't speak to how the programs were collaborating back then. I know that it's a really strong connection now, and that Basketball Australia is working, you know, always on ways to streamline and improve that. And it's definitely clear to me as a new, you know, I'm the new kid, that those things are being done in such a great way. And I think for me, the perception of the athlete that it is trending like that is really positive, because of the amount of work I can see being done behind it. But raising the profile of basketball, I mean, what a great time to be involved.
Oh, sure.
in basketball anyway, women's basketball in particular. But they're equal, so important pillars of the Basketball Australia framework, and having them work together can only benefit the platform, the success of both.
One of the things that's always interested me is you get to see a lot of different countries playing at these tournaments.
Yeah.
Countries like China, the United States, Japan, how are they reacting to the 3x3 game, but also not only from the fan perspective, but from the team perspective? Like, do you see that these countries are kind of constantly making adjustments to the way they're constructing their teams and the strength of that they bring as opponents?
It's an interesting time because the Olympics are just over there. But at the moment, from a federation point of view, points accrued right now aren't for the Olympics. It starts in December.
Yeah.
So I've noticed in the women's series, a lot of teams messing with their front foot.
Yep.
Putting groups together that maybe are a bit different. I mean, maybe similar to what we're doing, getting some more bodies out there and exposed to what this feels like while they try to work out what that next campaign might look like, I guess. So Spain's team has been fundamentally the same everywhere I've been, but a lot of countries, Mongolia have a couple of women's series teams, France have a couple of women's series teams. So they're mixing it up, but there's a definite push for, like, everyone seems to still fit their playing style. The Japanese play a Japanese style of basketball. The Chinese play it really clear. It's all the same, but they've got different personnel. Some younger ones, maybe some that have transitioned out of 5-on-5. Canada have a great big at the moment who's retired from 5-on-5 and stepped into this, and she's hypermobile and aggressive and can score, and so they're building a new group because they had these twins previously that may or may not compete with them anymore. So it's an interesting space because I don't see anyone, maybe the USA, but these, I think everyone's testing the water.
Yeah, it's as you said, the campaign starts soon.
That's right.
So I suppose one of the things that would be interesting about this year's women's series is you'll probably see more experimentation with rosters from some sectors, just to try and figure out, and like you said, bring in younger players who will be able to be there at the next Olympic Games, in case something does happen, or in case there's a bit of change in the team, someone retires, or whatever the case may be. From the point of view of the coaching, right, because it's not like you get to see as much game film.
Makes it challenging.
Yeah, that's what I was really interested in finding out from your perspective. How do you deal with that?
Well, further in, now that we're a fair way in, teams have a roster of 6.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen everybody at some point now, so it's getting easier. But at the start, people don't nominate their team officially until the night before.
Oh, really?
So you might have a list of 4, but that might change the night before at the technical meeting. And then once that 4's locked in, they're locked in. So if between 9 p.m. the night before and game 1, someone hurts themselves, well, now you have 3. So it's an interesting space because you don't have, like, once you get going in WNBL, you've got a core 7, maybe 8 if they go deeper, that you've got a bit of an idea of style of play. You know the personnel because you've been around the league long enough. Like, you've seen Alex Sharp play. You've seen whoever. So you get good at all that sort of thing. But here, there might be very limited film, particularly the Asian countries. They have, like, domestic leagues with film and stats that are very hard to come by. So until they've played in the women's series or in a cup where you do have access, it's hard.
So, okay, then
what do I do?
Yeah, what do you do?
I go digging for film. But I'm getting good at it too. I mean, the more time you spend in any league, you get good at identifying the key players. And the further, like when you turn up to a World Cup, people aren't messing around with their roster there.
Oh, sure.
So most of those faces, you're across their style of play. starting to see the same coaches, so therefore a bit of a feel for how that might look. But it's definitely challenging. The skill in the coaching, I've had a few people say, oh, it's not really coaching because, you can't yell out to the team, although plenty do.
Okay.
But for me, the skill in the coaching is the prep.
Yeah.
So the players knowing the personnel on the other team at a baseline. What are our strengths? How are we going to score in this particular matchup? And their ability to troubleshoot, I think, also reflects directly on your coaching. If they can't adjust, you haven't prepared them enough.
Yeah, because it's interesting you say that, because quite often during the telecast, they cut to the coaches just for a short, and you're always seeing the coaches kind of like looking there, pensive, kind of, and you can almost tell that you want to say something and you can't, or you don't.
Well, coaches get warnings. There's definitely, been a bit of that because you're trying to help, you want to help. And so coaches, some far more vocal than others. But if the players are acknowledging you, I think you get a warning, and then the second one, I think you have to leave and they get a tech. So you don't want to impact the game that way, especially in a game that can swing so quickly.
Yep.
So you also, like the players can't talk, you need to be disciplined. But I think the skill in it is being able to prepare them. So what are you going to do when strategy A fails? You've got a timeout. When's a good time to call it?
Yep.
Some teams I've noticed have whiteboards. So the players, will pull out their whiteboard and, hey, this is our next play amongst themselves, which I think is pretty cool. But giving them the skills and the confidence to be able to do that. Who's picking up the whiteboard in the group? Like, are you capable of, like there's a lot there that you need to equip your group with, because they're in the battle, they're in the war, they're the ones being punched in the face. How are we going to fix it?
That's really interesting. It's almost like, when you were describing that, what I was thinking about was you're almost developing the next generation of 3x3 coaches by doing that.
I think so. And I watched the USA. I think we were in France.
Yeah.
And they had 3 puppies and then an Olympian, Burdick, on their team. And she was trying to steer the group. And it's an interesting way to do it, to bring in the new players and keep a veteran and have the veteran try to organise the youngies. This is how we do it. And coach them through that. And then they picked 4 young ones for the World Cup, which was interesting. So no veteran, and they had to work it out themselves. But it's you're building this next group. Interestingly, the twins from Canada, one of them was on the coaching staff with the men in Canada.
Oh, okay.
So there seems to be a transition like that, which I think is cool. But maybe see a past Gangurru coaching the future Gangurrus, maybe.
Well, look, I don't think it's out of the question, given that the amount of effectively the amount of the on-court adjustments and responsibility really falls on the team themselves.
That's right.
And what you were saying about the fact that you're prepping them means that in some respects the level of prep, because now that you've sort of explained that, the level of prep that you as a coach have to do in terms of trying to come up with a series of options to address each team really puts a very different style of responsibility on the coaching staff compared to playing, 5-on-5.
For sure. What I've also learnt, so the dead ball, so you play it, you can set up however you want to set up, a little horns action or whatever. That's fun, right? As a coach, you pull your whiteboard out, what action's going to suit your group, and off you go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You might get 10 of those. So the strategy in the other 25 possessions is probably more important, because they get the ball more that way, and that's happening faster. So teaching that decision making, because it all happens in a flurry.
Yeah.
Whereas a dead ball, we've got time to put piece A over here and this one here, so we get the mismatch we want. Whereas in transition, it's never going to be exactly the way you want, or not always going to be. So building a framework to play inside in that space, I think, is, also a skill.
Yeah. Do you think given this growth and the fact that the team's done so well internationally,
So well.
that we'll start seeing more local competitions for 3x3. I mean, they exist, but probably on a more formalized platform.
Maybe the same. Maybe you have too. I've heard about there being 3x3 teams attached to NBL1 programs. I've heard about state pathway, about some sort of private Australian-based tour concepts. There's lots of things out there, but as far as like, I'm not across an actual plan for any of those. Those have all just been conversation topics thrown at me. I don't know, is the honest answer. I think it would be cool. I think I like the idea of 3x3 state teams. I like the idea of, I think there are like youth Olympics and under 23 like tournament spaces. I think it would be awesome to see us put teams in there, but domestically building a pro circuit, I love it conceptually, but the logistics behind it, I don't know.
Because, Wheelchair has got their 3x3, and we got to see a couple of games about a month ago.
Yep.
And it is it's really spectacular watching them play.
I've watched a little bit, but yes, it is.
Look, wheelchair basketball, I'll be really honest, I've said it before, I find it to be a really scary sport.
Look, I worked with a group of athletes that went to the 2000 Olympics, the Victorian-based Olympic girls, and I learned a lot about how hard it is. And we would shoot and practice in a local gym while they were prepping to go away. And it is way harder, just the chair component and coordinating that and everything else. There's a lot, but I would imagine in the 3x3 and with the highlights I've seen, I mean, there's less sprint and more angles and crash and the chess of it all would be on steroids.
Yeah, we've had quite a few wheelchair players on, and when I was a kid, I used to play rugby. There is no way I would wheelchair basketball. Absolutely not. That game truly scares me because they are the most fearless athletes in terms of the way they just go hell for leather, and they're in the chair, and it is just go, go, go.
Yeah, I guess I like to try to figure out the chess of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of purpose to angles and why you're putting your chair, where you put it. The point system. So different players have different roles in that strategy. So I enjoy trying to figure all of that out.
That's the coach in you coming out.
Maybe. I'm not sure, but that I enjoy all that.
Okay, so as we kind of wind this up, I suppose the big question is, what's next for you, and what do you think is next for the gang?
I think I'll start with the gang. I think the Gangurrus are going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
Now you've got players with experience on every level and interest outside of that group of four to want to be part of that, whether that's part of the future Gangurru lineups or just part of the process or whatever, but some real general investment in, hey, I might want to do this. Basketball Australia providing those opportunities for players and coach pathway. It's an exciting time for basketball generally, full stop. WNBL is going to look and feel a little bit different. That's exciting, but 3x3 is doing the same. It's a great time. So I think the future for the Gangurrus is bright. You've got these 4 girls at the moment, the ones that just went away with the World Cup, with bright futures in the space if that's what they want to continue to pursue. There's a whole group of girls a little bit younger coming up as well, also interests. Like, it's an exciting time. So I'm excited to be part of it. So that's cool. What's next for me? I'm really enjoying the challenge of 3x3 and the opportunity to learn about a different format of the game. And so in typical me style, I have obsessed over that, which I'm hoping makes makes for a good team. It certainly has so far with Damon. He's a mildly obsessive individual himself. And so I'm enjoying the challenge of learning from someone like him who has been on the journey with this women's program for a really long time, and when it was an awful lot harder. So qualifying for things, you'd be lucky to get your one shot.
Yep.
And then if you didn't win, then that was it. Whereas now thanks to that group of 4 and Damon and their success, we are in a position where we have far more opportunity, and it's exciting to be here. I'm enjoying the heat of it. It's great.
That's fantastic. Look, I love both forms of the game, but in terms of the amping up the entertainment value and also using the sorts of venues that they've been using in the women's series, it just brings this whole different atmosphere to it. It's like, you get a feel for how close the fans sit to the game. And also, as the competition goes on from day to day, you see the crowds getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when you get to the finals, it's packed. And the one thing I don't think we ever get a real sense of is how loud and how into those finals games the crowd really gets.
Good reason to bring an event to Australia, I think.
Absolutely. In front of the Opera House.
Yes. I'm sure that's easy to arrange. You just book it and turn up.
Look, I'm sure that, with the right voices, we can get the New South Wales government to get on board and try and support that one.
I'm sure. And
it'll be just down the road from Parliament House. They can wander down and watch the game.
Sounds great. Can't wait. Yeah, no, I think that would be awesome. But yeah, the atmosphere is incredible. I'm not blown away. Like, I'm not surprised that the fan enjoys it. We actually played Asia Cup in Singapore, and my cousin had recently moved there, and she played state basketball many centuries ago. Sorry, Tani. And her and her daughter came, and they watched, I think, the evening session, and she was blown away, having never watched 3x3, wasn't really sure what she was signing up for, just being a good cousin. And she loved it. Follows the Gangurrus on the socials. She's following all of our games, sending me text messages about her strategic opinion. It's engaging. It's fun. I love that that's happened for her, and that must be happening, I assume, everywhere these games are played.
Yeah, it just seems so much like I know one of the venues is outside a shopping centre. I think it's
there's been a few of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes it so accessible. It's not like having to sort of, get in the car and travel out to wherever the stadium is for a WNBA. It's there where people are there. And so particularly in some of those earlier games the earlier rounds where you don't get those big crowds, people can sort of, there's something going on. Let's go check it out.
Look, that's right.
Yeah.
Traffic.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how much the tickets are to get into one of those events, but I'm guessing that they wouldn't be stupidly expensive given.
I think so. I'm not sure.
But it's a great way to get people to engage with the sport as well. So I honestly believe there's going to be a huge increase in interest. I think one of the biggest things is going to be, how do you get venues to be able to cope with the interest as it grows over the next few years?
Yeah, because it'll be an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
What I think is great about it, so a basketball game requires, I guess, at least 10 from a casual point of view, but usually 14 plus.
Yep.
Then you need your referees and a scorer. But 3x3 requires less people,
yep,
less space. And so on any given basketball court, you could run it at both ends from a participation point. Like, there's an opportunity, I think, to really drive participation in basketball as a whole because of the pathway attached to this, and maybe make that pathway to the World Cup for countries or individuals that little bit more accessible, I think. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
And just one last thing before we wind it up. I just really wanted to ask.
Yes.
How painful is it playing or even sitting on the sidelines somewhere like ridiculously humid like Singapore?
Mongolia was probably the mildest temperature we've had, and it was 30, Singapore and Bangkok, so Thailand,
Yeah.
really hot. And the staff section was often in the sun. So you'd have to sit, because the fans,
Yeah.
would sit in the shade, and the time of day, if you were unlucky, it's sweaty and sunny. Yeah. So it's hot. It's look, there are worse things, but it's hot.
Yes.
It's definitely hot. And the athletes, like they're going through that on steroids. So I try to remember I'm hot, but they're playing. So
yeah. Okay. Hannah, look, thanks so much for your time. It's been great having you on. Great listening to your stories about 3x3 and getting a better understanding of the game. And we can't wait to see the team take the floor at the next competition round.
Where are we going? We're going to Jakarta next. So
Jakarta. It's only in a couple of weeks' time, is it?
Couple of weeks. Yep.
Yeah.
Just a short one, as they all are. But I do enjoy it. Like, we get in and we're straight to business. So I like it.
Fantastic. And good luck to the team for the competition.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Paul.
No worries. Thanks. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you get our latest pod. And we really appreciate if we could get a like and a review so we can extend the reach to more listeners. And don't forget, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn.